marvelous. You know, kudos to you. You've obviously had some tremendous inner and outer changes, and also you've had some obvious completion with people, places, things, times, and events of the past. So, you know, you're no longer in that old experience anymore. And,
yes.
you know, one of the things about this is, you know, one of the first steps you can do is, like I said, write down what the main theme has been. You know, if it's been you've been a victim when it comes to this, or relationships, or business, or whatever it is. And then, you know, write down opposite of that on a separate sheet of paper of the experiences that you desire to have. But most important is the state of being that you desire. Do you have a state of being desire to be happy? Do you have a state of being desire to be peaceful? Peace is the foundation of all of that. And you know, I'm practicing mastering this, and so
and
you know,
if I could
just
insert
really,
something real quick.
Sure.
I just want to say, when you talk about peace, you're talking about inner peace, aren't you? That's all I wanted to say, because
Correct.
It's like so many people think if, you know, like they believe in world peace as they drive down the highway flipping the person that they just cut off, you know, off. So it's like, it's the inner peace.
Yes, and sometimes, though, some common mistakes that people do is they think, okay, I got to be spiritual now and make all these changes and do all this stuff, so I'm going to juice, you know, 3 times a day, and then I'm going to meditate this many hours a day, and so on and so forth, and visualize, 10 hours a day or whatever. I'm just exaggerating.
Right.
It doesn't have to be big, huge changes, or small changes, and just starting out with that point of reference. And it doesn't take a tremendous amount of meditation or these types of things to make this shift. And what it is making simple, practical shifts and changes, meaning like identify your theme. And if you want to go, say people want bigger, like I said, money, success, what would they have to give up? Well, you know what? One of the things is their story. People got to give up their old story. Well, I didn't have the money because this experience happened. Well, that's an event. Well, this person betrayed me in my last business venture. Well, that's a person, place, thing, time, and event again. And one of the ways to get out of whatever caused that, and the person may not be consciously aware yet what the cause was yet, but they got to give up their story. They got to literally give it up and not talk about it anymore. So one, identify your theme. Write down those experiences or the theme of the experiences that were less favorable, but don't put too much effort on that. And then on another piece of paper, write down what your desired or the opposites of those are. If you don't know where you want to go yet, then just write down the opposites. And start with, and make sure it's very important, to what states of being do you want? Do you want a state of being of abundance? Abundance is a natural byproduct of peace. And so is happiness. Because when we neutralize, the negative emotional states and we're able to neutralize them, people think they have to replace it with something else. And the magical thing is we don't have to replace it. When those people, places, things, times, and events and negative emotions are no longer present, guess what? We have a natural state of being. And the natural state of being are those things.
And there's a comment in the chat room. Yeah, there's a comment in the chat. Do you think when you do that, it tends to leave a vacuum? Because I'm gonna kind of paraphrase the comment. It says, to change people's places and things, a lot realize that they need to change these things, but leave a vacuum sometimes, and forget to fill that vacuum with new people, places, and things according to their new vision. Then they have no support. I mean, what do you think? Because it's like, I actually think that's what Eagle said is really true, and this comes from an old AA fact that they teach to addicts. And I will say, it's like, when I do a transformational type education, I've done it. I did it for like 6 years, but then I graduated into life, and initially there was a vacuum there. Now, I did create a new vision, and then I was in action, so I've created that vacuum get filled with things that really fulfill my new vision. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that that person has a very good point about the vacuum. But then again, you know, it's somebody said here on the chat, you know, about being present. And this is the beauty. People will look back in this process and they'll go, oh, all this stuff happened. There's those folks there, and some of them I want to bring with me and some of them I don't. Well, you know what? We don't have control over that. And if you really want to take your life to the next level, you're going to have to learn confidence. You're going to have to learn happiness. And part of confidence is trust. And I've gone through several changes in my life where I've had, you know, I thought my life was great and perfect, and I said, no, I want to make all these great changes. I made them, quantum leaped in an instant, and I was in a situation where I hadn't created the other spectrum of the vacuum. And I felt unsupported. And but because in that experience, I was learning trust. I was learning to trust God, trust the universe, whatever a person chooses to call it. I was learning trust. So there was nothing wasted in that experience. You know, I was learning trust. So on one end of the spectrum, I could say, well, goodness, I felt empty. But I literally was. I was empty.